Hey guys, so I wanted to just do a quick video just talking about what I think our running game is going to look like next season. Look, man, J.K. Dobbins has to be made into the number one guy, man. Like, when it comes to running, it's going to be in the Ravens' best interest to just let J.K. take over. I like Gus Edwards. Obviously, we know what Lamar can do, but you got to let J.K. take a leap forward, man. You got to, man. And I think I did a previous video, but I kind of touched on it, but I didn't focus too much on it. But just in case, I'm gonna say it again. You got to let J.K. take over. I'm seeing some of these silly ranking lists where they got J.K. ranked at like 27. That's ridiculous. At least J.K. at least needs to be around like number 15 on that list, man. Again, I think this year could be a major year for him if the coaching staff actually makes the right decision. You gotta let J.K. take over, man, and you have to let Lamar run a lot less. I know that sounds crazy because Lamar is such a dual threat and he's so dynamic as a quarterback that a lot of people think that it's crazy to say that, but no, you gotta let Lamar take a step back when it comes to running, man. And this is why I wanted them to actually do a better job of securing receivers during the offseason. They didn't do a terrible job. If Sammy Watkins could stay healthy, and Rashad Bateman has a lot of potential if he could live up to it, and Hollywood, if he steps up, and things could still work out. But I really wish they could have gotten Corey Davis or Juju Smith or a Kenny Galladay or Curtis Samuel, whatever. But it is what it is. It's not happening. So as far as the running game, you got to let Lamar take a step back, man. Obviously Lamar's still gonna, whenever he needs to, he's still gonna go out there and rush, especially when half the time when Lamar rushes, it's usually because like the offensive line was getting dominated and he just had to just go scramble because there was nothing else there. But like this, it would be nice if Lamar had another 1,000-yard rushing season, but I don't think it's necessary. I think he's already shown that he is the greatest dual threat quarterback we've ever seen. Like, even all respect to Michael Vick, but even Michael Vick has admitted, like, yo, this kid has already surpassed what I was capable of. Like, even someone as great as Michael Vick, who as it stands right now is still the best dual threat quarterback ever, he's still, even Michael Vick had to give him props and say, yo, this kid is gonna go way farther than I ever did. And that's, anybody can see it. Obviously you can see it. Lamar's faster, again, with all the respect, but he's a better passer already than Vic was. They both were good passes, but you know what I mean. But again, you gotta let Lamar take a step back, man. He rushed for he had 154 rushing attempts in the 2020 season. You gotta chop that in at least in half, basically. You got to, man. Like, you have to, man. Like next season, they need to keep Lamar at about 70 rush attempts, man. They have to cut it down, man. They really, again, they have to. In my opinion, I think it would be in their best interest to cut it down, because even with 70 attempts, Lamar's still gonna end up getting like 500-600 yards, bro. Maybe even like 800, really, because there's don't Lamar average like 8-9 yards a carry? Like look, even with 70 attempts, Lamar will still probably get somewhere between 500 to 800 yards, man. But you gotta chop that down, man. And those 70, 80 attempts that you're chopping away from Lamar, you got to hand that over to J.K., man. And obviously Gus Edwards is still there, but I think Gus Edwards will probably still hover around the 600 to 800 yard mark like he did last season. Last season he had about 735 yards. I think he's gonna hover around that again, but I really think they gotta really start feeding it to J.K. Mark Ingram's not there anymore. With all due respect to Mark Ingram, because I'm gonna miss him. I'm always gonna consider him a Raven, even though he wasn't here that long. But Mark Ingram last season, even though he didn't play much, I think he had like around 40 or 50 attempts. Lamar had 150. You gotta, again, so Mark Ingram's not gonna be there. That's gonna free up some attempts. Lamar, you gotta restrict how much I think they should really cut down on how much he rushes. Drop it to like 70 attempts. And all those extra attempts that you normally would have, Now, I do think a portion of those attempts should be turned into passing plays, but for the ones that aren't, you gotta just let J.K. become the guy, man. But I still think our running game is still gonna be top 3, if not number 1 again. You know, we're still again just that, just that talented from a running perspective. So I still think we'll end up being number 1. Is J.K. still gonna average 6 yards per carry like he did last season? I actually still think so. I really do still think so. I think he's gonna have an even better season, man. Like last season, he had about, I think, like 800 or 900 rushing yards and like 7 touchdowns. I think this season, if they really go all in on J.K. being the number 1 guy, J.K. could end up having like good 1,300 yards and like maybe like 8 or 9 touchdowns. I really think that's possible. And if he and Gus Edwards can become reliable receiving running backs, like who Lamar can actually throw to at times in certain plays, that's a whole different ball game. Now you're talking about us having like something similar to what the Browns have with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and we're already dangerous. But if we could get a dynamic like that going, and if our passing game can take a leap forward, we already got a top 10 defense. We have the best field goal kicker in the league. Like it would be almost impossible to not make the Super Bowl at that point. But again, that's just a quick video. I just wanted to throw that out there. What do you guys think? Do you guys think J.K. Dobbins is gonna have a dominant season next season? Do you guys think Gus Edwards will step up and have a dominant season? Like, do you guys think neither will? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and make sure you guys like and subscribe.